Hey guys, what's up? It's Finch here. We're going to be doing a video on why Chople Berry Tyranitar is a timeless wonder in black and white overused. You see this thing on well over half the Tyranitars. It probably makes up 75 to 80% of the Tyranitar usage right now, and then the leftover could be choice scarf sets, or you occasionally see things like Custap Berry. Band is kind of fallen out of favor because of a lot of reasons that we're going to get into throughout this. But yeah, Chople Berry Tyranitar is just phenomenal, and these six slots are six completely different Chople Berry Tyranitars sets, all of which I've used in 2020 alone. That's just over 5 months of the generation that's well over 10 years old now. It just shows how crazy Tyranitar is and how versatile it is, despite really being predominantly using one item and kind of having one card down there. So, first off, before we go through these different stats, because that's kind of the minor part, let's go through why Chople Berry is so good on Tyranitar. Right now, Black and White is a metagame that's kind of centralized around a certain number of Pokemon. And in fact, a lot of people say it's like, oh, it's like 7 or 8 Pokemon that you see in every single game. And sometimes you do see that. But the fact of the matter, it's really like a big 20 or 25 Pokemon, I'd say, that really are huge. And you could even argue condense it down to like 15 or 17. Okay, that's fair. But I'd say that like a lot of the fringe picks, the Pokemon that like BB plus and viability actually are pretty damn good right now. But of those Pokemon, a lot of them are special attackers that Trent happens to match up well against for an assortment of reasons we'll get to later. But a lot of those Pokemon run moves like Focus Blast. And the fact of the matter is that Focus Blast being negated and damaged by Chople Berry makes Tyranitar a fantastic utility check and just helps team building so substantially. So let's go through some examples. Let's say you're facing an Alakazam with your Tyranitar. It's turn 28. Your Tyranitar is only taking one turn of Stealth Rock damage. It's still at 87.5%, and the Sash Alakazam is fully intact. You get your Tyranitar in after something dies, you predict a Psychic, you come in, or Hit Bar, you come in on that. You're at 70-ish% after Stealth Rock, whatever damage you might have taken. Sure, just hypothetically. Now, there's a chance that if he hits Focus Blast, you're just going to die outright. And that would be really bad if you don't have a Chople Berry. But with the Chople Berry, not only do you assure living that, but also you mean he has to hit two of them, or he has to have Grass now, which is actually growing in popularity for this in particular. Um, and the fact of the matter is that oftentimes both of those are just not going to be seen. Hitting two Focus Blasts is basically 50-50. And even if you don't, then you break Sash just with like a Scarf Landorus or Scarf Latios or Priority from a Breloom or Extreme Speed from Dragonite can take it out, or Rapid Spin from Excadrill could kill it. Once it's especially defensive Excadrill, Heatran could take it out if only taking 50 from Focus Blast. Same with Ferrothorn. Mammoth White Ice Shard. Rear Nichols could take it out. Rodent W could take it out. It's only going to take like 35 from Psychic anyway. So a whole assortment of things, but just breaking that Sash is huge. Keeping it check is huge. On top of this, with this set, you're also able to check and trap something that's probably the best Pokemon in the history of Black and White overused, Latios. And Latios' spec set is so good. There's a reason I used Latios 10 different times during FSPL. It wasn't coincidence. It wasn't like, oh, oops, this happened, haha. It wasn't, oh, Finch is super one dimensional. No, I used it on rain, used it on sand, used it on weatherless. You name it, I used it. It's just how it is. And Latios is just a phenomenal Pokemon. But while Tyranitar can always switch into two spares, it actually can with especially defensive spread that is even more special than this we'll go into later. It always lives two Dracos. Pursuits doesn't try to do it, and if you say Volswitz you road him into it, or you kind of scout out the move it does with Protect and Breloom. There's so many ways to do it. It's very possible you're going to be trapping it, and that's great. But that doesn't involve Chople, that just involves special defensive stealth rock utility nature of Tyranitar in general. Also, why you just can't fit banned, because you can't check things like those psychic types, like Alakazam and Latios. Tyranitar is just so good at doing that. But on top of that, it's also really good for your Nicholas, which is a phenomenal Pokemon in Black White. Arguably one of the most polarizing figures in the history of the metagame. To the point where it was voted on as a suspect long ago, and then it was kind of okay throughout the duration of like Black White 2, but not spectacular. And then a couple years after that, the Psychic Spike metagame just popped up, and people were like, oh my god, Renux is broken. To the point where we decided there's a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to free Excadrill. And now we're seeing another cycle of just Renix being great over the last year and a half or so. It's really good. It runs a whole slew of sets, different coverage moves and combine sets between Life Orb leftovers, or Trick Room, 3 attacks, Trick Room, Recovery. It's just great. Nicholas is low key versatile, but Focus Blast is something that's running more than half the time. I mean, you see Combine Bulbing a fair amount, but Combine Focus Blast is more common than not, and in Life Orb Focus Blast is always seeing Trick Room set. Being able to check that and have EVs, this spread in particular, Idiot Adamant always ensures you to a KO, max physical defense leftovers Rear Nicholas with Crunch. Now, what's interesting here is that you don't always even need to run this. For example, if I run a team with Sandforce offensive Excadrill, or a team with Punishment Scarf Landorus, or a team with Trick Latios plus something like Stun Spore Amoonguss, or a Whirlwind Skarmory, or Taunt Jellicent, or Taunt Gliscor, or Swords Dance Scarchomp, or even Mix Scarchomp, or Swords Dance Facade Breloom, I don't actually feel a need to run this attack, and so therefore I could run a spread like this. Something I also want to get to while we're here, but we're not yet, is that Tyranitar also doesn't always need to run Stealth Rock. We'll get to that in a minute. It's also great for trapping Starmie. You should be able to 1v1 it. You can't really switch into it lively. And another huge thing, a very recent development, Thunderous Tea is one of the best rain beasts right now. And Focus Blast is increasingly common on it. And being able to take that and do a ton of damage to it or take it out is great. Also force it to Focus Blast, that's great. Yeah, there's just a ton of things it's good for. I don't know why I'm going down to UU. I don't really know what I'm expecting here, but yeah, Chople Berry is just so great. Alakazam, Ryu Nicholas, and Thunderous Tea. It's huge for all three of them. It's also great because you could live one hit from uh, +0 non-life orb or choice band to track and most of them are rocked in right now if you invest a little bit. It's also cool if you could check Toxstroke if you want Earthquake, which a lot of mine run. I'll get to that in a minute. Coverage in a minute. What else runs fighting coverage? Superpower, Landorus T on occasion. Hydreigon can run Focus Blast. Yeah. Oh, Gengar. And Gengar is actually pretty rare in Black White, but if you do ever do it, and Chople Berry means that you keep it in check. You're not really worried your team at all. And Chople Berry is actually why Gengar just has fallen off a ton of Black White. It's not great. Um, Breloom it can help with, and I'll get to sets later that actually do really well against Breloom and lure it in and kill it like that. Um, Choice Banded Superpower from Dragonite, you've got a chance of living, but not really a great answer to. Yeah, I mean, there aren't a ton of other fighting move uses, but these Pokemon are so prominent and so great as this that it's kind of like, okay, this is more than enough. And a lot of teams just need that. Need to check the Thunders, need to check the Alexander, need to check the Reuniclus, because otherwise you're stuck running very specific things. These Pokemon have very few hard answers. And the fact of the matter is that Black White's a very proactive metagame, so hard counters aren't really needed so much. It's just spotty checks like this and things that are super practical as opposed to just hard counter oriented. The fact of the matter is that in a Pokemon metagame that predates defog, proactivity and hazards being set and everything being on a timer is huge. There's no regenerator spam. There's no magic card spam on the defensive end. No, Pokemon like Alakazam and Reuniclus are intended to make progress, not intended to wish, pass, and prolong the game like something you see in SSLU or SMOU or even ORASU to an extent. The fact of the matter is that pushing the envelope, making progress, taking the initiative is the game of Black and White overused. It is unlike any other current generation of OU and any other team preview generation. And a lot of newer players fail to account for this. And they play more too defensively, or they don't account for all these possibilities and try using things that are overly passive. Like a lot of newer players tend to use things like Gastron or Black White, and it could be good at checking things like Thunderous Teeth. It could be good at checking things like non-toxic Tentacool. It could be good at checking things like Alexander that like Grass Out. It could be good at checking Chople Tyranitar. It could be good at a whole slew of things, walling the shit out of Run W, although it does get burned. You name it, it can do it. That is great. But the thing is that on the other side of things, what makes Gastrodon so poor is that you're going to be letting in things like Breloom to make progress countless times. You're going to be letting things in like Marathon to set spikes up all over your team, and fitting a Gastrodon plus a spinner is hard because X-Drill is another ground type, makes you really clunky or set of weaknesses. And you're not using Gastrodon on Rain with Tentacool or Starmie, so it's like awkward. You can't really make that work. So all of a sudden you're like, shit, there's only a very finite number of builds with Gastrodon that work. But a lot of people are like, wait, this is my hard counter. How am I going to make this work? The fact of the matter is you can't build in Black White. You can't play in Black White like you do in Oras, like you do in SM, like you do in SS. It's just a totally different monster filled with proactivity, filled with hard predictions early and on in the game, filled with sequential play that is going to make tons of progress that's not going to be negated by Regenerator or Wish or Magic Guard or Defog. No, 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 no. Every turn counts so much more in these early games. Getting that early lead, clawing ahead, that is going to stick if you don't play poorly in the end game or get outplayed during the middle end game. And that's why positioning in Black White is so huge. That's why progress Black White is so huge. And that's why Pokemon like Tyranitar, as I get to this final conclusion of the thesis of Tyranitar and Black White OU before I go through the sets, that's why Pokemon like Tyranitar with Chople Berry are so good, because they combine all that. They get you the sand to change the rain, and to give you a special defense boost, to check the Psychic types like Alakazam, like Reuniclus, like Latios, as we said, and Thunderous with the Chople Berry. It's so great. It could do so much. It gives you so much versatility. It's always making progress. It is phenomenal. The fact of the matter is that Chople Tyranitar is so good in Black White because, well, on paper, it doesn't 1v1 a million things. On paper, it is checked and countered by plenty of things. it is super practical. It offers your team a puzzle piece that's going to have so many openings that can connect other things, keep your team building checklist clear, and enable so many other things in your teams. Chople Tyranitar is going to be used on over half of black-white teams for that reason alone. It's well over 2/3 of Tyranitar sets for that reason, those reasons alone. That's why it's so good. And on top of all this, on top of the premise of checking those psychic types, it also can do so many things. There are well over these 60 EV spreads that I've used. There are probably north of 50 different Chople Tyranitar EV sets I've used. And there are probably similar numbers of different move combinations I've used. In addition to this, we also see Chople Tyranitar tendencies shifting. For example, historically, Chople Tyranitar used Stealth Rock as a move well more often than not. And nowadays, that's much less the case. Why is that? First and foremost, Tyranitar is oftentimes used as your utility type to the psychic types, as I mentioned before. The fact that it matters is that teams with 2 or even 3 psychic types are becoming more and more common. We're seeing things like Alakazam plus Latios, or Reuniclus plus Latios, or even all 3 of those Pokemon. Hell, you could even say Thundurus plus Latios on Rain, and you want to have the defensive capabilities of Tyranitar. You want to have all that health you can. You can't waste that turn setting up Stealth Rock. And in addition to this, with the rise of Rapid Spin Excadrill that could beat Tyranitar down, it could even be EV to live a superpower like this, or EV to live a couple Fire Blasts with a special defense variant. Well, if it runs Flamethrower, which I actually have been flirting with a bit lately, but that's besides the point. Very, very small side note that shouldn't even be bothered with here. Running Stealth Rock Tyranitar is kind of falling out of style, and while it's still good, it's a timeless Pokemon. You can always fit Stealth Rock on if you need to. The fact of the matter is that fitting Stealth Rock on something like Excadrill, or Garchomp, or Gliscor, or Heatran, far more common than others that I mentioned before, or Landorus too, which is easily takes the cake for the most up-and-coming Stealth Rock setter in Black-White, as we saw during SPL. Or even on things like Bronzong see niche value as Stealth Rockers. Yeah, whole slew of things. Fitting Stealth Rock on all those Pokemon I just listed. But the big ones would probably be Mixed Garchomp, Stealth Rock, Moldbreaker, Excadrill, and Special Defensive Heatran as like tier 2, and Landorus T with leftovers as the tier 1 as like alternative Stealth Rockers. The fact that fitting Stealth Rock on any of them opens up the 4th move possibilities on Tyranitar. And why is that huge? Because all of a sudden you can run sets like this. This set pimps out special defense. You probably pair it with something like Excadrill, and then Excadrill can help check Bolt Beam, Reuniclus, or you can pair it with something like Ferrothorn. You knock off the leftovers and crunch 2 kills anyway, despite not having the attack investment in all likelihood. Gives you a ton of chances. So that synergy is huge with something like Ferrothorn or Excadrill. And then in return, for Excadrill, you could Ice Beam all of the ground types to try to switch in. The Gliscor, the Landorus, the Garchomp. That's huge. You also can threaten something like Breloom, which aforementioned Ferrothorn could struggle with. So that's huge. And then, of course, you still have Quench and Pursuit because you still want to hit those Psychic types. You still want to trap the Latios and the Alakazam and the Reuniclus. And it even does pretty well against Thundurus with this investment. Ice Beam's just for the 4 times super effective Pokemon. Just alluded to before, the ground types. It's a special attack investment and physical defense investment. You could actually pimp out physical defense for a ton of things. I ran up to 80 some odd AVs in physical defense on Tyranitar. This set in particular is able to always live Scarf or non-Life Orb Garchomp's max attack Earthquake after Stealth Rocks and then do a ton of damage with Ice Beam Return, even potentially killing it if it's minus special defense or taking some rocks damage or a burn or whatever you might have it. So yeah, that's really cool. Running some more defense is really cool too. You could always live a Sand Force Iron Head, and you're oftentimes going for Iron Head instead of Earthquake into you, trying to get some chip damage on your Landorus, trying to get chip damage on your Latios, or even kill it after Stealth Rock, trying to get chip damage on your Rotom W or Gliscor. So you oftentimes don't see early game Earthquakes from Excadrill just because of that. So you can easy to kind of tech that and then kill them in return with a superpower if they're more offensive, which they are in all likelihood. So yeah, that's really cool as well. You can also run EVs and physical defense to always live Landorus T Earthquake, much like I just mentioned with Garchomp. And last but not least, you could run a ton of EVs in physical defense, like the 60 or 80 number I mentioned before, to always live Adamant, Choice Band, and Kyurem, Outrage. And that's a really cool trade in the Drag Mag matchup because then all of a sudden it's not able to pick off your Rotom W cores and you're able to trade with that. And the sand stays up anyway. And odds are the only thing that you're losing out on checking is just Latios. And if you live at 1 anyway, like your EV2 basically, then you can just fire it off Latios, and then you can go to your Ferrothorn, and they can get trapped, and you can set up like a 1-for-1 sequence, and that looks really well if you have something like Scarf Landorus or Mammoth to really kind of function as a good revenge killer against those teams. Sorry, that was a bit of a tangent of a sequence, but there's just so many things that Tyranitar can enable. You can get so creative with the EV spread. This is just one example that's catered to this set and a specific team, and I've used it a couple times. Here's another one. This one is a bit more of an aggressive one. This one I actually used in SPL 3 times over. I used it against Caetano, I used it against Solon, and I want to say I used it one time later. It might have been against Z. No, against ZF I used Scarf. Might have just been those two actually then. No, I take it back. I think I might have also used something similar to this against John W. It might not have had the same speed. It might have had the same speed, actually. I don't remember. Fuck, I'm sorry. But this is the same attack investment to always trick your Nicholas. Of course, you can skimp out on that if you lack something like if you lack something like extra drill, then you want to run this. But if you have extra drill, if you have punishment Landorus or trick Latios, or you feel sufficient against it. Sunspot Mobius is great against it. If you feel sufficient against your Nicholas, and you actually don't need to run all this, you can even run less. Like if you run 64, you hit the jump point, and you still have like a 98 or 96% chance to kill your Nicholas. It really just depends if you need to use these. Otherwise, this gives Fire Blast a great chance to do a lot of damage to something like an offensive balloon or to kill most specially defensive Skarmories. The speed also lets you outrun zero speed Heatran. Earthquake is used here for hitting Jirachi, especially defensive variants, and hitting Heatran and hitting Tentacle is huge with Earthquake. And I love Fire Blast plus Earthquake or Ice Beam plus Superpower. Those two kind of combinations I have. Because Superpower gives you more mid-ground coverage for all steel types. And that's because you don't. Ice Beam doesn't hit steel types. Fire Blast does, though. So that Earthquake can hone in on the other steel types that you don't hit, like Special Defensive Jirachi, or also poison types like Toxic Croak, and much more importantly, Tentacruel. And of course, there's Crunchless Pursuit, just Trenton Black White, the Psychics and all. This one does skimp out on special defense, so you can't switch in as easily to things like Latios, of course, or even your Nicholas, although you should be able to do it in a pinch if you bait it. But the speed lets you outrun zero speed Heatran, most Jellicent, which is huge in some matchups, especially if you're running it with, like, say, Keldeo or even Facade Drain Punch Bloom. Taking that out would be great. You outrun most Skarmory, which is great. Even like the minus speed IV Rotom W that something like ABR uses, it's great to outrun those. And you outrun Politoed, which in a sense could be a pain if you like both like lead with them or like the double down, you bring them up without because then you brain stuff. But otherwise, it's really cool to get faster crunches, maybe take it out before a skull takes you out, so on and so forth. And of course, you still check Alakazam the same way other sets do. Well, Focus Blast can 2 kill, you gotta force that. And Grass Knot doesn't 2 kill this set regardless without Stealth Rock damage. Even then, it's a roll. That's cool. Unfortunately, skip out physical defense, but you don't have Ice Beam for the ground types anyway, so you kind of take that compromise. And if you outrun a Breloom and you Fire Blast on switch into a killing that, if it's especially defensive, is really cool as well. You're able to do that. And Fire Blast can be Flamethrower, as I mentioned before, if you don't mind that damage output, in which case I just zero out special attack if you can just say, fine, you 2 kill Fire Thorn anyway. You're 2 killing offensive Bloom anyway. That does make the potential roll after, especially defensive Bloom, max special defense to protect 3 KO. But you could switch into Protect, you could play those games, and it still does decent damage to Skarmory, but it wouldn't 2 kill special defenses as much. But if they pimp out Impish defense investment or they pimp out speed, then you could still 2 kill with Rocks, which is cool. Just a minor detail. Here's another set on teams with Excadrill or Latios and those kind of techs, like I mentioned before, for Nicholas. You can just pimp out special defense, and then all of a sudden you're really good against Trick Room Nicholas because you're tricking that anyway. You're even better against Latios. You're able to switch into that. You're able to switch into Thunderous more reliably. You're even able to switch into Scalds from, say, Tentacruel in a pinch if you really need to. And this set runs Earthquake. It was really specific to the team. Superpower is still fine here. You could even run Stone Edge over Crunch. If you're not scared of Nicholas at all, you just care about Alakazam and Latios. And then you could run Ice Beam. I only do that in very specific teams, so if I'm expecting something like the Zapdos Rain, that could be cool. I'm expecting a 4 times ground ult, that's like opponent tends to switch in, that could be cool. And if you still want to Heatran without running Earthquake Superpower, that's kind of the narrative Stone Edge, but I hate running Tyranitar hardwalled by Heatran pretty much. So I feel I need Earthquake or Superpower on every set. So if I don't have one of those, then running Stone Edge over Crunch is okay if you're sure there's going to be no Nicholas. It sucks not having Crunch on Tyranitar though. So I would regard that as something to only do if you're willing to proceed with a lot of caution, very specific matchup. Not something I do consistently. But anyway, yeah, max special defense will fine spread. And if you lack superpower, running a little speed creeps always chill, because then the Tyranitar interaction isn't they live with Chople and then kill you back to the -1 defense. No, it's fast, so you can 2 kill with Earthquake potentially, and you always live with superpower anyway. Sometimes you even go slower with IVs if you want to have the interaction with their quicker. You get damage and trade them, but I only do that if I've got 2 psychic types in my team, because then their Tyranitar being weakened is more important than mine, because then my psychic types can beat them. So if they're willing to do that trade, then I am too. Then it gets wonky if you're lower health wise, then you die despite the Chople Berry. So you kind of got to be careful there. Also, one thing about Chople Tyranitar, if you're using it on dual psychic teams and you want to have that Tyranitar mirror go in your favor, you can actually run some speed and you can run low kick over superpower. Something that I did on a Dice team, a team that Dice and I made last SPL that made a lot of waves. The Latios, Reuniclus, Excadrill, Ferrothorn, Tyranitar, Landorus T team, I think. Ruhr used it against We Three Kings in finals. I might have butchered the Pokemon, but that type of team, it had Latios plus Reuniclus. Low kick was really cool there. But I only really used it on dual psychic teams just because those are the only teams where you really want to emphasize winning the time mirror or trying to force the time mirror, because their health on Tyranitar going low means that both psychic types go in, whereas they don't have that same luxury in all likelihood unless it's like some sort of mirror. Anyway, going beyond that, this is just a 4 attacks, Ice Beam, Superpower mixed set without any speed and with some attack just to have a good chance to kill Nicholas, but also a ton of defense that I mentioned before, not the full amount. Um, I think this is specifically for extra. The attack for his kill, and then Ice Beam. And this one was for some specific Gliscor interaction with Stealth Rock, I believe. Yeah. This is the most special attack I've run. 104 or like 80, I think. And then sometimes they just go like 24 or 16. Really depends on the team, though. There are so many things you can do, though, as I said. And last, we also have just an all-out attacker, 4 attacks, Chople one. I've actually seen Jirachi run a similar set with Ice Beam over Pursuit. I like Driving Pursuit and Expert Belt. A couple SPLs ago, and a ton of people run Fast Star, but this one is really cool because it outruns Offensive Bloom, and a lot of them are not running Mach Punch. Of course, with Poison Healing, you're not running Mach Punch, so yeah. Um, excuse me. And it still lives a hit from Alakazam with Chople Berry. You can 1v1 Latios with ease. Same with your Nicholas. And you're always too young, like 216, despite not having Adamant. And 240 lets you outrun things like very slow Landorus, especially defensive Excadrill, all Breloom that aren't plus speed and none run plus speed. Spoiler alert. Most offensive Politoed, all Rotom W, all Jellicent, all Skarmory. Fat bulk up Toxicroak with Earthquake, that's cool to have. Yeah, even random things like Metagross you should outrun if it's the banded variant. Not to mention slower Gliscor with Swords Dance, so you don't have Ice Beam, not a big deal. Yeah, so the speed is really cool. I don't run this a ton nowadays, though. Generally speaking, you don't want to run the all Tyranitar. Teams that are like really specific teams. I ran this a bit more when Jirachi was better in OU, but nowadays Jirachi's plagued by Spike Weakness and X-Drill. He ran even better and taking advantage of it a ton. But yeah, at the end of the day, Chople Tyranitar is just a phenomenal Pokemon in Black White overused. It has so much versatility. There's so many things you do with it. There are countless spreads. There are countless move combinations. Just beyond these moves that we went to, you can also see something like I've seen counter on it. Have I? I don't think so, but it probably has some like roughness. BKC's use Dragon Tail all the time, which is cool. Again, Flamethrower can work. I wouldn't advise using Focus Punch. Possibly use that. It's gross. Don't use that. Ice Beam, as we said before. Low Kick is great. Um, Rock Slide can be used. Yeah. Stealth Rock, of course. Taunt. I've used Taunt Terra before. Yeah. I used Thunderbolt Tar once. I wouldn't really recommend it though. Thunderwave is very viable in Tyranitar, and people have sort of started using it. Specifically, Talon just started using it, but it's not really that great. It won't carry a ton of staying power, especially since a lot of switch into grounds. After all, Toxic is kind of fringe viable, although Refresh Politoed deletes that fringe in all honesty. Especially with the Gliscor prevalence lately. Yeah, not many of these moves are worth using, in all honesty. But there are just so many moves, so many EV spreads, and so many different combinations that you could go with. Stealth Rocks or not, 4 slots, 3 slots, whatever it might be. Chople Tyranitar is just so good. And it's just such a practical Pokemon given the pacing of Black White U, which I touched on in a bit of a little rant and tangent before. So I hope you guys enjoyed that really analytical stuff there. I love these analysis videos of Black White because I'm so passionate about the tier and I know the intricacies of it. And I have for so many years. There's just so much knowledge to base things off of. And I figured I'd go into this because for a newer player, maybe it doesn't make as much sense because your vision of checking and counting things in new generations is just different than Black White. And I think that going into this detail hopefully paints a brighter picture, paints a clearer picture rather, for those people. So hey, if you're interested in Black White, then videos like this are kind of my thing on the side, and I love doing them. And I hope you guys understand this explanation in a bit more detail. And yeah, God bless Chople Tyranitar. I hope you guys enjoyed this. No laddering tonight, but I gave you the Club Babel video for SS, and now this. Tomorrow, maybe some draft league content. We'll have to wait and see. I have some graduation stuff. I kind of like informally graduate from college tomorrow. And I had my last final today, so it's really cool. But anyway, if you enjoyed this video, if you enjoyed the analysis videos, or if you just enjoy my channel in general, leave a like. It does matter. It goes a long way towards me, so feel free to do that. I really would appreciate that. And if you're watching all these videos and you're not subscribed, what you doing, buddy? Come on, give me a sub. I'd love that. I really appreciate that. And hey, if you don't want to, you're not forced. I'm not judging you. I don't really know you anyway. But yeah, hey, thanks everyone for watching these. I hope you guys enjoy. And let me know if you got any suggestions for other videos why I could make this video better or different comments on Tyranitar Black White. I'm always open for dialogue in the comments. Let me know. Hit me up on comments or on Discord. It's lit. It's Finch. It's 1:30, so I'm gonna call it a night for this. Hope you guys enjoyed. Peace.